Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams, and today we're going to be going over my loves and hates. If you haven't noticed, I'm not in my normal studio. I'm actually on vacation with my fiance, visiting some of her family, having a great time, but I wanted to make sure you got all the information you needed to set your lineups. So we're starting with the quarterback position. Daniel Jones, quarterback for the New York Giants. I know that Daniel Jones is not the most accurate quarterback in the world, but you don't have to be the most accurate quarterback. If you're going to run the ball, I definitely think you can get him in your starting lineups. Moving on to Jalen Hurts, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going against the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys do not scare me. I definitely think that Jalen Hurts is going to also do it with his legs, but a little bit more with his arms than Daniel Jones will. Up next, we have the wide receiver position. A.J. Brown, I know he has not been having a great year so far, but I definitely think this is a get-right game against Indianapolis. They don't scare me like they did last year. I definitely think that A.J. Brown is going to have a solid game this week. Next, we have DK Metcalf, wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. I definitely think that he is going to have a get-right game. Tyler Lockett has seemed like the focus of the offense up until now, but I definitely think that they're going to feed the big dog. DK Metcalf is too big, too strong, and too fast to stay down for too long. I definitely think he's going to be a good matchup in this one. Up next, Mike Williams. No, not me. Mike Williams from the Los Angeles Chargers, wide receiver. I definitely think that he is going to have a good week going against the Kansas City Chiefs. Mike Williams' average depth of target has definitely decreased from last year to this year. I think that that's helping him get more involved in the offense and catch shorter passes. And everybody knows the more passes you catch, the more points you get. PPR is fantastic. For those of you out there worried about Sterling Shepard, wide receiver for the New York Giants, don't be. I think that he's going to have another great game. He's been playing fantastic, and Daniel Jones seems to really like to get him the ball. And I also think you can start Rondell Moore this week, wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. He's been looking good in these last couple weeks. While he's on the field, he's being targeted, and that's what you want in a wide receiver. So don't be afraid to throw him in the starting lineup if you need him. Moving on to the running back position. Austin Eckler, running back for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he's going to have a fine game this week. Going against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chargers are going to need him if they're going to win this game or if they're going to compete. And I definitely think it's going to get a lot of dump off, so that's fantastic for fantasy football. Start him up. Next, we have Tyson Williams, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. I think that Tyson Williams has proven that he's a solid running back, though he does need to work on his pass protection. I think that he's done enough to be on the field. And in a Baltimore game where we expect them to be up against the Lions, very solid play. I also think if you're desperate, you can play Latavius Murray. He seems like he is also going to be involved in this offense. I don't believe it's all Tyson Williams. Latavius Murray will definitely have a role. On the defensive end, I think that the Patriots are a solid start. Going against Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints. That is still weird to say for me as a Bucs fan. But I still think that he can throw picks, fumbles, and he's still a little irresponsible with the ball. So I think that they would be a solid start. I also like the Denver Broncos going against the Jets. The Jets have proven last week that they are definitely willing to throw a bunch of picks. I think the Broncos are going to have a good game and play some great defense. I'm talking sacks, picks, you name it, they should have it. I think they're a great defense this week. And also start up the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be fantastic against Miami without Tua. Jacoby Brissett is a journeyman for a reason, and he does not scare me. I definitely think that the Raiders are a solid defense. They have been good against some good offenses so far. And that's going to do it for the loves for week 3. And today we're going to be going over my hates for week 3. And don't forget, when I say hate, I don't mean I dislike these players. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't play them. What I'm saying is some of these players you may want to bench. Some of these other players you may want to limit your expectations and put other people in your lineup that can give you more of an upside, because this player does not have as big of an upside this week. And I know that my studio looks a little different. It's because I'm actually not at my studio. I'm in Ecuador visiting my fiance's family. We're having a fantastic time, but I wanted to make sure you got all the fantasy information you needed for this upcoming Sundays. And I'm excited to do it. So let's get it started. Starting with the quarterback position. Joe Burrow going against the Pittsburgh Steelers is not something I'm looking forward to. The Steelers are normally a great defense, but I know that TJ Watt is currently dealing with an injury, and that actually is worrisome. If TJ Watt sits, I'm a little more confident in Joe Burrow, but I'm still not excited to start them. They're a very good defense, and T. Higgins is dinged up right now, so buyer beware on that one. On the other side, I also don't want to start Big Ben. I don't think most of you are starting Big Ben anyways, but to be honest with you, I'm really not confident on it. Deontay Johnson is currently dealing with an injury, and even if he is in the lineup, I feel like this is more a Najee Harris kind of game. I definitely think they're going to feed the rock to the running back. And for those of you out there on the Jameis Winston hype, going against New England, nah, I'm not trying to do that. After what they just did to the Jets, all those picks, that's not something that you're trying to deal with Jameis Winston, who is notorious for throwing picks. He better hope there's not a changeover at the quarterback position halfway through that game. Up next, we have the wide receiver position. Up first, I have Mike Evans from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unfortunately, he is probably going to be dealing with Jalen Ramsey, not all of the time, because it seems like Jalen Ramsey is in the middle a little more often. I don't think that he has a terrible game, but I definitely want you to limit your expectations. The Rams are very good against the pass, so I don't see him having a blow-up game. Can he get into the end zone? Of course he can. But I don't think that he has one of those upside games, so I think that you should use that information when you're building your lineup. I'm not saying to sit him, but I am saying you might want to get some more upside somewhere else. Next, we have Michael Pittman Jr. I like Michael Pittman Jr. I think that he's proven that he is going to be one of the focal points of this offense. The only problem is Carson Wentz is dealing with 2 ankle injuries. Now, he's practicing right now, so there's a chance that he plays. But if he doesn't play, I'd be very nervous to put Michael Pittman Jr. in that lineup. That being said, I do think that he's going to get some volume, and they're definitely going to need to score in this game. So there's a chance that he gets involved, but I'm not looking at the upside for Michael Pittman Jr. this week. The next wide receiver I have on my list had an amazing game last week. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver for the Washington football team. They've clearly showed that they're going to target Terry McLaurin. The problem is they're facing the Bills this week, and Tre'Davious White tends to shadow when the other team has a dominant number 1, and that number 1 happens to be Terry McLaurin. I'm not saying to bench Terry McLaurin because he played very well against Bradbury last week, so you're definitely playing him, but there's a good chance that he has a very tough matchup this week, and you should limit your expectations for the outcome. Up next is the running back position, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm not a big fan of Clyde Edwards-Helaire this week. Honestly, this year, he's not been playing very well. I'm not excited to put him in my lineup. I do think that he's going to be running the ball, obviously, but he's not as involved in the passing game. The backup scored a touchdown last week, and I'm just not seeing as much upside because I honestly don't think that the Chiefs need him. They got him on the team at Patrick Mahomes' request, but they don't need him to win games. The Titans need Derrick Henry to win games. The Steelers need Najee Harris to win games. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not a focal point in this offense. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, both of these players are going to get theirs every single week, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is getting what's left over. So I think you should limit your expectations. There's a solid chance you have a better option out there, but I'm not saying you can't play him. I'm just saying don't expect great things. Up next is Damian Harris, running back for the New England Patriots. I actually like Damian Harris, and I think he can be played this week. I'm just a little nervous going against that New Orleans defense. They're very gun against the run, and Harris does not get as involved in the passing game as I'd like. I think you should still play him. I have plenty of situations where I need to play him, so I'm not saying you can't. What I'm saying is I don't know if he's going to have a blow-up game against the New Orleans Saints. Next up, running backs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Rams' run defense is incredible, and none of the running backs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have taken a stranglehold on that position. Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette and Giovanni Bernard, if he's healthy, are all going to be involved in this run game. And when all 3 running backs are possibly going to be involved against a very good run defense, I'm not excited about that run game. I'm definitely fading all 3 running backs in this week. I think that one of them can have a good game. I just don't see it being multiple of them, and who's it going to be? Is Ronald Jones going to fumble? Is Leonard Fournette going to miss a pass and cause another pick and they get benched? Bruce Arians has more than proven that he is willing to bench someone if they turn over the ball. So I'm a little nervous on this one. And moving on to the other side, I'm nervous about them as well. Running backs for the Los Angeles Rams. Darrell Henderson has been playing great so far this year, but he's currently dealing with an injury. I think it's a pain tolerance situation, so he probably gets in, but how much work does he have? The backup Sony Michel is going to get more involved like he did last week. I don't feel comfortable enough to start Sony Michel. If Darrell Henderson's out, I would feel more comfortable about Sony Michel, but I think that he's going to try to tough it out. Again, 2 running backs going up against an incredible defense. No one wants to run on the Bucs. Nobody. The Bucs are an incredible run defense, so I'm really fading these 2 running backs. If you're in a pinch and Darrell Henderson plays, fine, but I'm not excited about it, to be honest with you. I'm putting him on my bench everywhere I can. Sometimes you can't. This is fantasy football. You don't always have that luxury. And last but not least, the tight end position. Robert Tonyan is a touchdown-dependent tight end, and I don't see him getting a touchdown in this one. The San Francisco 49ers defense is very good, and I don't think that Robert Tonyan is going to come down with a touchdown. If he doesn't come down with a touchdown, he's not going to be very helpful for your team. And that's going to do it from this episode of the Hates for Week 3. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck this week. Peace.